Okay, today we're going to do a Photoshop project, and it's a technique you should already know how to do. It's the same technique we used for putting the sky in the boat picture, and it's this is kind of a cute little version of that. I need to get an image of somebody wearing sunglasses, and um, and what we're going to do is we're going to put um, something in her sunglasses as if it was a reflection, something that she's kind of looking at. And so think about as you get your images, what would make sense that would go together. In other words, if you have a girl in front of just a white background, it wouldn't make much sense to have um, trees or some nature reflection in her sunglasses. That wouldn't make any sense. So what I have here is a girl on a sidewalk with lots of people, and then I picked a picture of a photographer taking her picture. So that those kind of go together a little bit. She does have trees and stuff behind her, but I don't think that'll be a problem. So um, the technique is we're just going to kind of zoom in here and get the magnetic lasso tool, and we're going to select the lenses of her sunglasses, and then we're going to come over here. This is going to be the image that's going to be reflected in her sunglasses, and we're just going to select all. You can do that by hitting Control A, and then we're going to copy that. You can do that by hitting Control C, edit, copy. Then we're going to come back over here, and we're going to go edit, and instead of paste, we're going to do paste special and paste into. That should ring a bell as to something you've done before. And you're probably going to have to hit Control T, and you may have to resize this a little bit depending on how big your second picture is in relationship to your first picture. But actually, I think that looks pretty good right there. And enter. We need to do that to the other side as well. So let's go ahead and do that now. Um, let's come over here and make sure we get into the correct layer, though. We need to go back to our original layer and now get our lasso tool, our magnetic lasso tool. And then we're going to go to edit, paste special, paste into, and Control T. I think I shrunk her down just a little bit. Enter. Okay, so now we really don't need her anymore. So that doesn't look at all realistic. So what we need to do now is let's just experiment around with one of these layers. Um, every picture is a little bit different, and this girl has dark sunglasses on. If you get a subject that has glasses on that are mirrored or shiny, that's going to have a totally different look, and you're going to want to approach it a little bit differently. So I'm just going to experiment with one side and see how we can make this look. One thing you can do um, is go up here to the layers, um, blending layer, and kind of experiment around and see if any of these settings um, give you a look that you like. I'm going to click on screen here, and you can see what that looks like. You can try dissolve, try some of these others. I'm going to leave that at normal. I'm just going to try to make it look better by changing the opacity and lowering it down a bit. If you lower it all the way down, you can't see the image, so you just kind of keep messing around with that until it looks like the way you want it to look. It could just be real subtle, to where you just barely see the photographer, or you can make it a little more strong. I'm just going to put about 50%, I think, and then go to the other layer, do the same thing. And then I'm going to go to this layer right here and double click on it, and I get my layer style dialog box. And let's experiment around with inner shadow. And what this did is it makes just a little bit of a shadow around the inside of the lens. And since the lens reflects different amounts from the center to the edge, I'm going to make that shadow big. And then with the size here, it'll kind of blend it so it looks kind of like around the edges it's darker, around the center it's a little lighter. That makes it look a little more realistic. I don't really think there's anything else here that we can use, so we'll say OK. And then we're going to right click on that layer and say copy layer style, and then come up to this layer, right click and say paste layer style. So now sunglasses match on both sides, right and left. So that's the project right there. Let's zoom out and see how she looks. So it looks like a girl walking down the street with a photographer that got in her face, took her picture.